Hey guys, MCU Collector here, starting off a new wave of figures. Finally, I get to the Sauron Wave, the Deadpool Wave 2. So I'm very excited about this one. So, the Hasbro Marvel Legends series Deadpool Wave 2 Sauron Build-A-Figure, or Dr. Karl Lykos, of course. So here we have the first figure of the wave. This is Omega Red. You can see it actually has the X-Men there at the top, and then the X logo at the top of the package there, because he's not really affiliated with Deadpool, so I'm not sure why he's actually in the Deadpool wave. Same with Bishop and then the X-23 Wolverine. I think they did it just to get these figures out without having an additional X-Men wave this year. I do believe that next year we'll probably see more than one X-Men wave, but time will tell and we shall see. And then Deadpool 2, if you haven't actually seen the movie, in the deleted scenes there actually is Omega Red, so pretty interesting. But anyway, you can see Marvel's Omega Red there. Here on the side artwork of the package, another thing I really like is they added some additional color to this wave of figures, just like we had seen like with the Spider-Ham. When there's additional colors on the side artwork, it just really pops and stands out. So this wave is no different. It's not as bright and colorful as the Monster Venom wave, but it does look good. So really cool side artwork there. Here on the back of the package you have Omega Red, and then you have the Sauron Build-A-Figure and all the figures to complete that Build-A-Figure, all the figures in the wave, and you'll see we'll actually go in order. So 1, Omega Red. 2 is the X-Men Deadpool / Madcap. 3 is the Deadpool and Chill Deadpool. 4 is Wolverine, the X-23 Laura Kinney. 5, Lady Deadpool, and then to finish it off we'll do Bishop last at number 6, and then onto the Build-A-Figure. So let's take a look at that bio. Okay, and the Omega Red bio reads, a former Russian crime lord and agent Arkady Rosevich is used in the Weapon X project, combining mutant abilities with weaponized cybernetic appendages. Interesting. And there's a close-up look at the figure. And those are the cybernetic appendages there. Okay, very excited to get this thing going, so let's open this up and take a look at the figure. Alright guys, so here's Omega Red out of the package, and one thing that I definitely did not know beforehand is that these tentacles or wires or whatever they are, they're actually additional pieces that he comes with. So in the package he actually has shorter ones, and then he has the additional long ones. Now these are not bendy wire like everyone really had hoped. They're just going to be kind of like the Doc Ock tentacles. They just kind of form in place and whatnot. You can warm them up and you can move them around, but they're really going to go right back to kind of the way they were. So there are short ones included with the figure already, so that's actually pretty cool that I did not know that. And you could just pop them out very easily and they just port right on in there, no problem. And then he comes with the left leg to the Sauron Build-A-Figure. Now the image that I've seen of the Build-A-Figure look amazing, so I'm very excited for it. But having the leg out of the package and looking, I'm actually not as impressed with just looking at just the leg. The whole entire Build-A-Figure I think is going to be very different. But there's no paint shading or any kind of paint variations in the leg and foot. It is all just the same flat green. I don't know if that's going to be the case with the entire Build-A-Figure. Actually, I know it's not, because I'm looking at the torso right over here, and you could actually see a couple of different greens in there. So the leg, there's not a whole lot to it, but again, it's just the leg, and it's not actually all that big or anything. So no big deal. But I am very excited to build that figure, and I know so many people have been wanting a Sauron Build-A-Figure for the longest time. But anyway, here is Omega Red. This is a pretty awesome looking figure. Now I know the Toy Biz one looked pretty good. Now I've never actually yes, I have seen the figure in hand. I wasn't super impressed with it, but I know that it was definitely not a terrible figure. And if you guys have followed me through this channel over the past year and a half that I've been doing this, you'll know that I'm not a fan of Toy Biz figures. They're just not for me. Most of them are not good, and most of them they just have not stood the test of time. But that Omega Red did look good. They had some good shading throughout the red and whatnot. So that one was a decent figure. This one is pretty awesome. And I'm trying to think of if this figure uses any parts that we've seen before, and I don't think it has. Before we get a close-up look, I'll double check with some other figures, but I think this is going to be a new mold. At first I was thinking maybe it's the Hyperion body mold, or maybe it's the Colossus body mold. And I want to say this is new stuff. Some of it might be reused, so I'm going to have to take a look, because what I did not know ahead of time is there is a butterfly joint in there. For a huge, massive figure, they actually did a butterfly joint? That's crazy, right? So that is pretty cool. So we'll get right to it. We'll go over the articulation before I kind of zoom in and take a look at things on the figure. So he can look all the way down, which is very good. Head's not going to get in the way. He can look up, so that is awesome. You get some side-to-side motion, but that's where the hair is really going to get in the way because of these shoulder pads that he has. Now, the shoulder pads really don't actually get in the way. They're pretty soft of him raising his arms. You would be able to get a full rotation, except, hey, they're in the way. There is an upper bicep swivel there. You get a double jointed elbow that works just over 90 degrees, it looks like. And then you have this gauntlet piece that's going to kind of... Actually, no, the way it's shaped, it doesn't really actually get in the way. So that's good. Wrist swivels, and there is a little bit of a hinge, but there's not a whole lot of space for it to hinge because that wrist is right at the edge there. So it doesn't come out a whole lot. So very little hinge, but it's in there. It definitely is in there. Okay, so ab crunch. He's going to crunch down, and this whole chest piece, shoulder pad, is not going to get in the way, and you can see it's already starting to come unclipped, though. As I do that, he's going to crunch back that much there. You do have a waist swivel. Legs go out that far apart. You got an upper thigh cut there. Double jointed knee, and that's a very good working jointed knee. If you guys hear some noise in the background, it's my kids playing Fortnite, and they're seem to be going crazy. No boot swivel or anything there, but you do get a massive ankle pivot with the foot hinging all the way down and hinging all the way up. So that is very good. So there is the articulation. Now let's get close up on the figure. Okay, so here's a close-up look at Omega Red. So before I started this back up, I went and pulled out my Colossus figure, and you could see there's a huge height difference. So the Omega Red is not the same figure at all. He does not use any of the same parts. Not the same feet, not the same hips, not the same thighs, not the same arms, not the same torso, none of it. So Omega Red, as far as I can tell, is 100% new sculpt. If you guys can recognize any of these pieces from a figure that I'm just not seeing, let me know down in the comments below. But from what I could tell, he is 100% new sculpt. So that is awesome. I love it when Hasbro does that. So you can see the face sculpt looks pretty good. I think some people were pretty disappointed in the skin tone being a little too pale, or no added wash effect or anything to give it some kind of definition, texture to it. But I think it looks pretty good. The detail on the sculpt looks good in the face. You can see the teeth. It's well painted. Even the silver on the sides of his cheeks come out looking really good. The yellow eyebrows, the gray and the red in the eyes. I think Hasbro did a really good job on that figure, so I think it looks good. Then you can see the hair has a little bit of wash to it. There's a little bit of whitewash in his hair to give it a little bit of definition. You can see that in the video. Red hairband. So that looks good. The shoulder pads have a nice texture to them, but this gray is pretty dull throughout, and there's only a little bit of red. So right here along these shells, and then on the shoulder pads, it's painted well. There's a little bit of marbleization in that gray, but it is painted well, and you can see that it does clip in the back. So this can come off. So you can see, you just unclip it there, and you could just take it apart, and you could really see those butterfly joints, because look at how far back you can get that arm. So you can get in some real dynamic poses doing that. You know, if he's coming in ready to swing, so that looks good. So you can see, goes in only a little bit, but the back goes out pretty far. You can see the holes on the shoulders there. So that's where the shoulder pads port down. See, you got that peg in there and just ports right down into those shoulder. So that looks good. Now there's no paint throughout the red. No shading, none of that, and I think that's what some people were pretty disappointed with. The knee, so that kneecap is where this whole mold is on, so it's not part of any of the other legs. So yes, Hasbro will reuse these legs somewhere down the line, guaranteed. But these knee caps look pretty good. Pretty flexible rubber type material. Doesn't come off or anything, but it can kind of move around. There's some flexibility in there. And the red on mine just kind of misses the mark a little bit right over here, but painted well. No issues. Here on his hands, you got the Omega symbol on both, and that's painted nice and clean. The silver looks good. It's a nice shiny metallic, so that's good. A little bit of red here in the gauntlet piece, and that's done nice and clean as well, so no complaints there. So you got to watch out, because this one kind of popped off on its own, so it just kind of rests in there. And I noticed with these smaller ones, you could see it's a pretty flush peg, whereas the longer ones have that pressure point or pressure spot or whatever it's called in there, so it should hold in there better. You can see you just, oh yeah, so this one you really had to force in there, and then you could see it just comes out looking like that. So that was pretty good, and you could turn it around however, whichever way you want in there, but it's definitely not going to come out so easy. You really have to force it to get it out. Now on this right side, it's going to be the same thing. Well, actually, it has a little bit of one here, but it's definitely not as good as these longer pieces. So it's just going to port right on in there, and that comes out, it goes in looking good. Now let's get the shoulder pad back on him. It should be pretty easy because it flexes around very easily, and you can just wrap it around the arm like so. I'm going to take these pieces out because those will get in the way. And then you just work it around his waist, clip it in the back, and then make sure that the ports go down into those holes on the shoulders there, and it fits on there nice and tight, and it looks good. So there he is. So let's zoom out and get one last look at him. All right, there he is, the last look at the Omega Red. Great looking figure. It's nice to really get some more X-Men villains. That's one thing that we were definitely lacking from the new Infinite line of Marvel Legends. I know we had a lot of X-Men figures in the past, and then it really slowed down to none, and then came back just a couple of years ago. So it's nice that there's putting a lot of focus onto the X-Men and X-Men related characters, and that we're getting some villains. So there is Omega Red. He is definitely going to be one of the harder figures to find in this wave, along with him, Bishop, and probably the Wolverine. I could be wrong. Deadpool and Chill may be a little bit difficult. I'm not sure. I have still not yet seen a single one of these figures out in the wild. So mine all came from online. Not a single one has been found in the wild by myself. I know I've seen some reports of some Walmarts getting them. It's mainly been Target. Local comic shops will probably have gotten some as well. But there he is, Omega Red. Definitely, if you see him, you want to pick him up, because anytime you have a figure with new sculpt, it's always a plus. So there he is. If you guys have any questions, let me know down in the comments below. Hit that thumbs up if you guys liked the video. Subscribe if you have not already done so. And as always, thank you for watching.